a cloud of potentialities. It doesn't sit quietly waiting to be discovered. It dances in all the places it could be, simultaneously. Until you look, until you measure, until you interfere. And when you do, the particle chooses, randomly, capriciously, instantly. The wave of possibilities collapses. The many paths reduce to one. And that act of collapsing, of pinning down reality into a single state, is triggered not by time, or gravity, or fate, but by something astonishing: your observation. The very act of seeing alters the scene. This is not philosophy. This is experimental physics, proven again and again. Take the famous double-slit experiment. When particles like electrons are fired toward a wall with two slits, they create an interference pattern, not like marbles, but like waves, as if each particle went through both slits at once and interfered with itself. But when detectors are placed to observe which slit the particle passes through, the interference vanishes. The particle acts like a marble again, choosing just one slit. Observation destroys the wave behavior. Consciousness changes the outcome. And in this lies the heart of the paradox. Reality does not simply exist. It waits. But what does that even mean? That reality is passive? That the universe is undecided until we ask a question? It seems impossible. And yet, the evidence is undeniable. In the quantum world, possibility is more fundamental than actuality. The particle does not have a definite position until you observe it. It exists in a superposition, a blend of every possible state smeared across the spectrum of existence like paint across a canvas not yet touched by a brush. And when you do look, when you do measure, when you do ask, it's as if the canvas freezes, the paint settles, the picture completes, but not before, not without you. You are part of the painting process. You are not separate from the world you observe. You are embedded in it, entangled with it, creating it as much as discovering it. And this fact, that your awareness might help shape the outcome, does not just shake physics. It reshapes metaphysics. It invites a new understanding of self and world, of identity and time, of what it means to exist at all. Because if a particle can be in two places at once, if the universe allows such ambiguity, then perhaps your reality is not singular either. Perhaps you too exist in superposition, hovering between the lives you've lived and the ones you haven't yet dared to choose. Think about decisions you didn't make, roads you didn't walk, people you never met, versions of you that flickered briefly in the fog of possibility and then disappeared when you chose something else. What if those versions weren't fiction? What if, in some quantum sense, they still echo, still hum in the background of your being? What if identity is not a fixed story, but a cloud of probabilities collapsing moment by moment as you decide who you are? If a particle doesn't become real until it's observed, what does that say about the self? Is the you of today any more real than the one you could become tomorrow? Maybe the very act of deciding, of looking inward, is its own kind of quantum measurement. And maybe the fear that comes with choice, the anxiety of committing to one path, isn't just psychological. Maybe it's ontological. Maybe it's grief for the collapsing of parallel selves. Maybe it's the weight of watching infinite futures condense into one. And in that grief, there is also wonder. Because to choose is to create. To observe is to collapse possibility into presence. To live is to carve meaning out of mystery. Even the very nature of time unravels under this quantum lens. In classical physics, time is a line, past, present, future, fixed. But in the quantum realm, time doesn't behave. A particle can affect its own past. The future can rewrite the present. Causality loops and twists like a Mobius strip, and suddenly you'll understand. And so we return to that particle, the one in two places. It's not just a curiosity, it's a doorway, a clue, a shimmering crack in the facade of the ordinary. It says, the world is not what it seems. You are not what you seem. And if you dare to look, really look, you will find that the act of looking changes everything. Not just the object, not just the moment, but you, the observer, the maker, the co-creator of reality. So what do we do with this knowledge? Do we freeze in the face of infinite possibility? Do we mourn the paths not taken? Or do we lean into it, embrace the ambiguity, the freedom, the terror and beauty of a universe that responds to our gaze? Perhaps the lesson is not to seek certainty, but to become comfortable in the unknown. To make peace with a reality that doesn't exist until you engage with it. To find courage in the collapse of the wave, knowing that every choice you make is both a death and a birth, a letting go and a becoming. Because in the quantum world, looking is not passive. It's generative. It's alchemical. It takes the ghostly and makes it real. And perhaps that's your role. Not to observe life from the sidelines, but to step into it fully, knowing that your attention matters, your presence matters, your decisions, however small, ripple outward into the fabric of what is. And so the paradox resolves, not in clarity, but in coexistence. A particle can be in two places at once, until you look, and you too can hover between who you were and who you might become, until you choose, until you dare, until you open the door and accept that reality is not given, it is made, in the looking, in the asking, in the wild, uncertain act of being aware. Because maybe, just maybe, awareness is not something that happens inside the universe, but something the universe does when it becomes you. The delayed choice experiment. The future decides the past. What if you wrote the ending of a story before the beginning was ever put to paper, and the plot lines obediently rearranged themselves to match the twist you hadn't yet chosen? What if the ink in the opening sentence only dried after you'd flipped to the final page? That's the logic-defying realm you step into with the delayed choice experiment. A place where the future doesn't just unfold from the past, it loops back and reconfigures it. In this world, causality is not a straight line from A to B, but a shimmering web of influence stretching forward and backward in time, where your decision in the present appears to ripple into the past, rewriting what should already be set in stone. You've spent your life believing that what has happened is fixed, that the past is the foundation upon which everything else is built. But quantum physics cracks that foundation open and whispers a far more unsettling possibility, that the present might edit the past, and the future might cast shadows backward across time itself. Imagine reaching out to catch a falling glass, only to find that your hand had already moved in response a second earlier, as if time had bent to meet your intention before it fully formed. The delayed choice experiment doesn't just suggest this, it demonstrates it empirically, consistently, and irreversibly. And the deeper you look into it, the more the illusion of linear time unravels, revealing a universe in which chronology is optional, in which the act of choosing doesn't merely affect what will happen, but what already happened. To understand this, you first need to forget everything you know about time. We're trained to experience time as a conveyor belt, always moving forward, never pausing, never reversing. The past is gone, the future unknown, the present fleeting and always consumed by the next moment. But in quantum mechanics, time is not a simple arrow. It's a field of interdependencies. The delayed choice experiment begins with the humble photon, one particle of light, and a setup similar to the infamous double-slit experiment. In that classic setup, photons pass through two slits and strike a detector, creating either an phase interference pattern, if they act like waves, or two distinct clusters, if they act like particles. What makes the delayed choice version so disturbing is the timing. The choice of whether to observe the photon as a particle or a wave is made after it has already passed through the slits. And yet, the photon behaves according to the decision made afterward. If the observer chooses to detect which slit it passed through, it behaves as a particle, having gone through one slit. But if the observer chooses not to detect, it acts like a wave, interfering with itself as if it had gone through both slits. The twist. This decision is made after the photon should have already decided what it was. It's as if your present observation reaches back in time and changes the past state of the photon, retroactively deciding what it did. This isn't metaphor, this is experimental data. So what does this mean for reality? For you? For everything you think is true about cause and effect? It means that the world may not be constructed in the orderly sequence we imagine. That time may not be an independent backdrop against which events unfold. Instead, the entire fabric of reality might be woven from correlations, from a vast, interconnected net of outcomes that align not based on when things happen, but on how they are eventually observed. The photon's path isn't determined when it travels, it's determined when it's measured, which means the universe doesn't commit to a single past until the present requires it to. Now think about that in human terms. Think about how often you reinterpret your own past based on what you now know. How a painful memory becomes a moment of growth only in hindsight. How something meaningless takes on significance only after its echo is heard years later. Maybe this isn't just psychology, maybe it's physics. Maybe the brain's tendency to reframe the past isn't a glitch. It's a reflection of how reality itself behaves. Maybe memory isn't a static archive but a quantum process, one that reshapes the narrative every time it is accessed, folding the future into the past, like hands shaping clay from both ends at once. And if this is true, if observation truly reaches backward, then what happens to responsibility? To choice? To identity? We like to think we are the products of our pasts, that who we are was shaped by the sequence of events that led us here. But what if the past is not finished? What if it's fluid, responsive, still vulnerable to the weight of our present awareness? What if the act of understanding, of interpreting, is not a passive reflection, but an act of co-creation with time itself? Then every new insight doesn't just color your memories, it alters them. Every moment of presence becomes a ripple that rewrites the context of what has already occurred. You are not merely walking forward on a path laid out behind you. You are sculpting the road you've already walked. And perhaps this is the deepest implication of the delayed choice experiment. That time is not something you move through, but something you generate through your engagement. That reality is not fixed until you engage with it, not just in space, but in time. Consider the implications. If the future can change the past at the quantum level, what does that say about destiny? About free will? You might imagine your life as a line drawn from birth to death, but perhaps it's more like a painting still being brushed from both directions. Your choices now don't just carve a future, they cast meaning backward. They highlight certain memories, diminish others.